And we are live for the very first episode of the Tennis Galaxy podcast. Hello, everyone. I am your host Prasad from Mumbai, and I have with me two very special guests who are going to be a part of this wonderful podcast known as the Tennis Galaxy podcast. I have two Indian die-hard tennis fans with me who are at the moment in the United States. We have Prakash here. Hi, Prakash. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Hi.
And we have Raj Kamal, and both of these are tennis fans since the 90s. My goodness me, I am a tennis fan since 2001, and to speak to these guys who have been watching tennis since 1990. So imagine the masala, imagine the conversation, imagine the build up, the analysis, the stats, the numbers you're going to get on this podcast when these people are going to talk about everything tennis. And to introduce our members, let's go straight to Prakash first. Prakash, can you introduce yourself to the member, to our listeners? Sorry.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Prakash Pothukuchi. And right now, I think I'll be more familiar with my Twitter handle, Donald Tendulkar, and which is, of course, from my two cricket favorites, Donald Bradman and Sachin Tendulkar. And for tennis fans, definitely Roger Lever would be the way I would be having to introduce myself. And I've been following tennis for the past 30 years. And my earliest memories are from the Becker Edberg Wimbledon back-to-back finals between '88 and '90. And yes, I've been a very passionate tennis fan since then.
Absolutely, Prakash. It's great to have you. And the
Thank you.
best part about this podcast is I got in touch with Prakash as soon as we have our conversations. I've been following Prakash since a long time on Twitter now, and I've been a fan of his tweets, all the stats he shares. And
Thank you.
Prakash suggested that we pull in the next person that we are going to hear from is Mr. Raj Kamal. Raj Kamal, hi. Great to have
Hi.
you as well. And can you also give our listeners something about yourself, an introduction about yourself?
First of all, Prasad, I'm a little bit offended that you said I've been following tennis since 90s. Actually, it's 1989. So
My apologies,
Mhm.
sir. My apologies.
I'll pardon you for that. And unlike Prakash, I'm not a Twitter celebrity yet. But yeah, as I
Okay.
said, I started tennis in 89, watching Graf, Navratilova, then moving on to States, Sampras, Agassi, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, all these greats. And I like nothing more than talking about this wonderful sport and the wonderful people, who make it so great. So I'm looking forward to this podcast a lot.
Absolutely excited to have you guys. The best part is that I've been listening to your conversations, and I feel like I'm listening to two very good analysts who know their stuff inside out. And I mean, I know from Prakash's tweets that it can get very interesting, and those tweets are such that it makes me watch tennis more and more and look for patterns.
Thank you.
So let's just get straight to the topics that we are going to do on today's podcast. And we are obviously starting with Roland Garros, which is tomorrow, which is today, by the way. It's 26th year in India. So
Yeah.
it's on a Sunday, and it's a clay court tournament, one of the four major Grand Slams that are played for people who will start following tennis after hearing to this brilliant podcast. This is the second of the four Grand Slams. Prakash and Rajki, what can you tell us about the draws? What are your thoughts on the draws? Let's just go to Federer's draws first. What do you think have been the draws for him? How does the draw look for Federer?
Yeah. Okay, I'll
So,
start off. Yeah.
yeah, Prakash, you can start off.
Okay. So, well, with Federer, I mean, he's as we all know, is back on the clay after 3 years. And while his achievements on clay are not in the same league as his achievements on hard court or grass, he has had a terrific clay court resume. And even the last time he played, he made the quarterfinals, losing to the eventual champion in Wawrinka in the quarterfinals. So we know he's not a slouch, and even his comeback this year has been pretty impressive. Even though he didn't get past the quarterfinals at either of those two Masters, Madrid and Rome. So he looks to be in good form. And the biggest thing I feel is, I mean, irrespective of the draw right now, I mean, he is basically playing with house money. I mean, he has nothing to lose. And that's pretty much what Federer has already said, that he's going to play
Absolutely.
very freely. So,
Hmm.
so I think looking at that, I think his draw is, I would say, it's pretty manageable. And I think he starts against, Italian player who is, oh, I mean, he's not Fonini or Seppi. So I'm thinking Federer should not have much trouble navigating him. And really, his first challenge, I would think, maybe, I mean, I'm thinking he should be able to. There's Gulbis there lurking.
Hmm.
So, who beat him, I guess, I think, was it 2014? I think he
I
beat
think
him.
it's 2014 French Open. Let me just
French
give you the names of his first two opponents. It's Sonego, as you said, and then
Yeah.
Desiri. We don't really
Okay.
expect much problems there.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I'm thinking, yeah, it would be the third round, I think, that he would really like. There's a
There's Gulbis
Andujar,
or
and I think,
yeah, there's
yeah,
Gulbis, there's Berrettini, and then he
yeah,
has
Andujar is
Schwartzman.
there.
Yeah, he's got
So
Schwartzman in the
Gulbis.
fourth round.
So let's
Yeah.
talk a bit about Gulbis. Prakash, so obviously Gulbis beat Federer in French Open, right? That was in
Right.
2014. So do you
Absolutely.
think that match is going to have any impact on this one if they meet?
I would definitely think so. I think, because it helps a lot when you play the big guys to have had a record of having beaten him, and for it to be in the same venue, and that would be I think a very big factor if they play there. And the
Gulbis
other
that
guys,
time
if
was a little bit in form, right? He's not really in form nowadays. So I
yeah,
honestly think that Federer is going to have much better chances this time than in 2014. So I'm not too worried about Gulbis. I wouldn't be too worried about Gulbis if you're a Federer fan.
Absolutely. And
sure.
to add to that, like Prakash said, Federer's playing freely. Like he has nothing to lose, and of slam at this point is a bonus. I mean, if he
Right.
wins the French Open, which is quite unlikely because of the top two that are doing very well, he has nothing to prove. I mean, 20
Right.
Grand Slams, an illustrious career, still
I
pulling
think
the crowd.
he will not be feeling any pressure till the semifinals. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way. Till he gets there, right? He's basically, I mean, he has nothing to lose. It's
I
only when he
feel
But
reaches the
let's not talk
semifinal.
about his next opponent, Schwartzman. If he gets to
yeah,
Gulbis, it's likely to be Schwartzman. What do you
Schwartzman.
feel
Yeah.
about Schwartzman in general? I quite like him as a player, actually.
Yeah, he's going to be a real. I think he almost took out Djokovic in Rome, so I think he's going to be a big factor, and that should be definitely the place, I think, where Federer is going to really have his work cut out. If not with the Gulbis match, definitely Schwartzman.
And
And
Prakash, do you remember
yeah,
Schwartzman last year against Nadal? He took a set off Nadal last year when he was playing in such good form, right?
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Schwartzman has been really good. The last 2 years, he's been in tremendous. Just not on clay, but of course, clay is his best surface. But all over, he's been a pretty good player, consistent player. So he's going to be really a threat. So I think that could be a match, to watch out. And it's going to be the second week of the Slam, fourth round. So
Yes, so
definitely,
guys,
that's
if you're
when
listening to us, this is a match you don't want to miss if it comes to a pass. That's Federer Schwartzman. It could happen in
absolutely.
round 4. Wonderful
And
players, both of them.
so let's get Rajke in a bit here now. And you've been so very critical about the schedule in Rome, and especially for players like Federer and Djokovic, because they tend to have the schedule looks harsh. So do you think Tsitsipas, Nadal, Djokovic will prove too much on Federer if he gets there eventually? Rajke.
Well, of course, one good thing here is this being a Grand Slam, you have a rest day between matches. So in Rome, the problem was that these guys sometimes had to play 2 matches in a row because of rain and things like that. I don't expect that to be a problem here, schedule per se, but this is a tough draw for Federer from the semi-final, from the quarterfinal onwards. He played Tsitsipas, and actually, I think Tsitsipas is going to be easier for him than than Schwartzman. I expect him to have better chances if he gets past Schwartzman of beating Tsitsipas. But then you're going to play against Nadal in the semi-final, and this is Federer has beaten Nadal the past 5 times, but this is Nadal's surface.
Absolutely.
So I'm not even sure from a Federer point of view that he would want to play against Nadal and risk that loss, because the head-to-head right now is giving Federer a lot of confidence for the rest of the season. So from a Federer fan's point of view, again, he's playing with house money here, and if he doesn't make it through to Nadal, even that has its own positives because he keeps the confidence, of winning the past 5 matches against Nadal. What do
Very
you
well.
feel about that, Prakash?
Yeah, I think if it's Federer, I mean, you can look past the semifinals. That would be, I mean, and definitely with Nadal there, right? The form he is, and I don't think there's an option. I think he will have to go through Nadal, so that is going to be. I mean, most like that's my call that his run will end at the semis, and I do pick him till there.
Okay, so that's Federer, guys. That's the world number 3 currently, Roger Federer. But Rajke, let's get your favorite player in. And by the way, Rajke is a big Novak Djokovic fan,
That's
and
right.
who almost was praying that Novak Djokovic, went into Paris unscathed because of the bagel in Rome and stuff, and the second set that he went through. But Rajke, what do you make of Djokovic's draw then?
So Djokovic, well, he's got a tough draw on paper. So let's go through each of the rounds. He starts
Absolutely.
against Hurkacz. That shouldn't be too difficult. But then from there on, let me just tell you these names that he may have to beat to win this French Open. And you can decide for yourself, really. It's Sam Querrey, Gilles Simon, Coric, Bona Coric, Sasha Zverev, Dominic Thiem, and Rafa Nadal. I mean, that's quite insane, really. Now, he's helped a little bit by the fact that Zverev is out of form, and then he has got a good record against Coric. But even then, if it's just Thiem and Nadal back to back, that's going to be a tough ask. So I'm going to say that on the face of it, looking at all the draws, he's not going to be as much of a favorite as Nadal. But if it's a Djokovic-Nadal final, then I may even have Djokovic as a favorite. So that's my stance on this whole thing, that if it's a Djokovic-Nadal final, I may expect Djokovic to win, but Nadal is much more likely to reach the final than Djokovic. So speaking from a perspective of today, Nadal is still the favorite. That's my take on Djokovic's chances.
Rafa Nadal. Prakash, Djokovic making it to the final in Rome, obviously bageled in that first set, but came back well in the second. And I think then kind of let it slip. I mean, it was a wise decision to whatever that was. Nadal won his first Masters, first title on clay this season. But how is Djokovic going into the French Open, according to you?
The first thing is, I mean, if you thought his draw was tough when it came out, it got tougher. You know what happened today? Zverev won the title.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah, just a few hours ago, right?
In Geneva, he beat Jarry, Nicolas Jarry. He was another player. I would say we got to watch out for. Jarry is a pretty good player. So, and so I think his draw is pretty tough. There's no doubt. But then again, if anyone can make it, it's Djokovic, and we also know that draws tend to fall apart. Like, I'm thinking this could go both ways for Zverev. Winning this could help him make a deep run in Paris, but also then he's played the week before. How fatigued will he be going in? So that.
And looking at Zverev's matches, they've all been 3-setters. So there's going to be a bit of fatigue there, isn't there?
There's going to be. I think he's played quite a lot, So Zverev, so that's. But still, there's no denying that Djokovic's draw is pretty tough. Even without Zverev there, right? He's got quite. Even that guy, the Hurkacz guy, starting with, he's a pretty good player. He's on clay, he hasn't done well, but he was. He had a deep run, I think, in Indian Wells. I think he did very well. So so he's an up and coming player.
And the next round could be Sam Querrey, and we all know about Sam Querrey. And Djokovic,
exactly. And Querrey is like no slug on clay. Like he's not like other Americans. He's actually got a very good ground game, so on his day, and Querrey could be really a handful.
And he's beaten Djokovic at Wimbledon, and as you said,
exactly.
If these guys beat one of the big three, they carry that confidence again, right? When they
exactly. And of course, Simon in round 3, I guess, right? So round 3, Simon. Remember the Austrian Open match a couple of years back, where basically he will make you pull your hair, Djokovic, I think, made like 100 plus errors in that match.
Yes, the famous match
And he
where
was
Djokovic
lucky,
made
really.
104 errors and still
Yeah,
managed
he
to
was
win.
really
I
lucky to
still
get
don't know
through
how
that
he won
match.
it.
Yes, yeah, he was very lucky. There was no doubt. Nadal was, of course, he didn't finally couldn't make it all the very deep or whatever. But that was So that's what Simone can do to you. So
And
it's
then he's playing in
but
France.
he's playing in France. That's the biggest thing actually. Simone, I don't think clay is his best surface, but the biggest factor is that he's playing at home. So it's going to be again a very very tough player. So and then of course there's Chorich, and who was again on his day. At the worst case, he's going to make you play, all the like to the fullest extent. He's going to fatigue you. So, and then of course going down, it only keeps getting tougher. You got say if not Zverev, I think Fonini is the other guy in that section who
Yeah.
And
can
that
make
doesn't
out
help. That makes it tougher, right?
exactly. So I think Djokovic will want a few of these guys to really fall out somewhere, and the draw needs to open up. But if he has to play the way it's on paper, that could really it could end up like I think having something like say 2014 where he gets to the final, but he's really at that
Yes.
time I think he was more fatigued by the conditions, like he was not feeling well, he was under the weather or something. But this time it's a draw that's going to get him, and I mean he's upwards of 30, so
Oh
I would
yeah. Oh
say
yeah.
it's
Okay.
a match by match thing with Djokovic. I would say we'll have to see how he gets to the second week. He would want to get there with as much efficiency as possible because
And Raj K, you have to agree that you cannot count Djokovic out any time. As a player, if I've seen him throughout his career, the way he has gone,
Yeah.
even if you're 2 sets to love up against Djokovic, you cannot relax because a Novak Djokovic can lose 2 sets and win three in a flash.
I would
And
completely agree with that, but that leads me to another point. A lot of people say that the draw doesn't matter, and if you're a good player, you should win anyway. And I
yeah,
completely disagree with that because, as Prakash was saying, these accumulated matches, take their toll on you. I mean, Djokovic would, of course, still come back from 2 sets to down in one match, but that's not the problem. What does that do to the next match? And if he does this, 2 matches in a row, what happens to the third match? Do you really
absolutely.
want to play Nadal? I mean,
Yeah.
come back against CM or something like that. That to me is the problem.
Yeah. So guys, Prakash, you were saying anything that you were
that's
adding
what
here?
we saw in Rome too, right? Basically, we saw a version of that in Rome where Djokovic is basically fatigued big time by the time he got to the final, and Nadal's not so much. So that sort of thing would happen here in Paris. The same thing, like of course they may not play 2 matches on the same day, but even like if you have like back-to-back 5-setters in the quarters and semis, I think.
I mean, forget the rest of his first 5 rounds. Let's just say that he has to play Thiem and Nadal, just these two, okay? Prakash, what do you think are his chances if he has to play Thiem and Nadal?
I'm not liking those. It's anyone,
I'm not liking those either.
Any of those three, right? If they have to play, it's like basically how it used to be with Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, right? If one has to play the top two, I mean the other two back to back, that guy is basically not making it most likely. It's going to be the other. So if he has to do Thiem and Nadal back to back, I think unless there's Federer on the other end.
This every year, right? That he can beat one of the big three, and then he unravels in the next match. And to be honest, it's not his fault. But we've seen him beat Djokovic and then lose to Nadal. We've seen him beat Nadal and then lose to Djokovic in the next match.
Right.
So
that's how it is. It's going to be. It's not
really
going to be easy
difficult because he's going to have to beat Djokovic.
I think.
So
there's no doubt. Yeah. Yes.
So guys, pretty much clear that we've spoken well on Federer and Djokovic, but that brings us to the hot favorite who's chasing his record 12th Roland Garros title, the 12th French Open, the king of clay, as they say, and as we might agree. Rafael Nadal, who, by the way, has got 2 qualifiers in the first 2 rounds and we are looking at a very easy draw for him. While we as Federer and Djokovic fans might annoy the section of Rafael Nadal fans, but guys, everyone has to agree that he's got a pretty easier draw in his quest for the 12th title. Raj K, Prakash, Care to weigh
Okay,
in
so
there?
look,
Yeah.
this guy's got an easy draw, Nadal, but he's also the greatest player of all time on any surface, and by extension, the greatest player of all time on clay as well. He's just fantastic on the surface. And people say, what could be a tough draw for Nadal? And I agree with that, but it's like similar to what I was saying earlier. It's not that any one player would have a greater than 50% chance of meeting him. But say he had to play Del Potro and Zverev and Thiem and Djokovic back to back, it would have been tougher for him. So all we're saying is his chances would have been a bit less. We are not saying that he wouldn't have been the favorite if he did not get this draw. But with this draw, he's going to waltz to the semifinals. I'm just looking for anyone who can challenge him, and I just can't see any. Right?
And
He's going to play Hanfman and Maiden to qualify.
Yeah.
Then Goffin. Goffin was a fantastic player. But I don't think this has been his best year. Prakash, what do you think are David Goffin's chances against Nadal in this form?
I think if he plays his
Prakash.
best, I think he might win a set because he's pretty good on clay. But I think Nadal wins it in straight sets. I'm thinking right now.
And then he's got the double-handed backhand, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing that helps him, But I think right now, under conditions both of them are in, with Nadal coming in as hot favorite and Goffin is kind of coming back from injury and stuff. So I think I would be surprised if he wins a set, But if he does, he's not winning more than that, I think.
And his round 4 opponent is Basilashvili. And now when the draw came out, your eyes lit up because you saw some pattern about Basilashvili.
Oh, yes. I was coming there. Yeah, I was coming.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? I noticed when Nadal defeated Basilashvili 6-1, 6-0 in Rome, I think and most tennis players or tennis fans are aware that, a very famous score in Rome, Nadal beating someone 6-1, 6-0.
Robin Soderling?
Really go well. Yeah, that was 10 years back, exactly.
Exactly 10 years ago.
Exactly.
10 years
and then what happened in the French Open? None of us know, so maybe you can tell us.
Exactly, right? We don't know what happened. But the thing was, I thought about that, but it gets even more crazy because they're actually now drawn to meet in the 4th round. And Basilashvili is actually playing decent now. He wasn't really, so his clay season was not that great, but
and
he seems to be just.
As well, right?
Yeah. Yes, 4th round, exactly.
Yeah, Soderling was 4th round.
Soderling was 4th round. This thing has even happened.
This is unbelievable. It's going to be, I think it's like one of those things where Isner and Mahut, after playing the marathon match.
Oh, the marathon.
They again met again, in the 1st round again or 2nd round, something like that?
The first, yeah.
Again, they met in the 1st round, I guess. So
but to be very honest, but Prakash, very honestly, 10 years back, I remember the Soderling game, and that was a surprise for me as well because at that time, I used to be more into the Grand Slams than the tours, and I can relate to the pattern because anything that is going to dump Nadal out of a match. I'm willing to go by that. Going by Federer Alliance since 2001 is what I've been watching since the Federer versus Sampras game. But to be very honest, like Raj K said, if he has to play those top 10 opponents back to back, and that really makes a difference. But I think, but according to me, he's got a very easy draw. The first 2 are qualifiers. Basically, if they swing in a surprise, you never know. But the chances are minimal because it's clay.
Because practically zero. It's qualifiers. These are not even regular ATP players.
And again, this is not like this is clay. This is the clay and Nadal. It's like. This is going to be even bigger than Soderling beating. If they beat Nadal here, it's going to be a much bigger.
If they beat Nadal here, it's going to be the biggest upset I've ever seen.
You'd have to, because just there's no way they're going to beat. But and also coming back to Basilashvili, right? I don't think we'll get that 4th round matchup. I think you got this guy Paya there, and he's I think he's the one who's going to make that 4th round, and so that pattern, while.
And then let me also tell you, Basilashvili played Nadal last year or the year before in French Open, and he was bigger.
Oh yeah. No, actually, his 5 sets, last 5 sets, Basilashvili against Nadal, he's won 2 games, 3 bagels and 2.
That's not 2 games per average, right? That's 2 games in total across 5 sets.
Across 5 sets.
So that's Oh yeah, and that's 30 years of experience that is talking, guys, and you can listen to the confidence that Raj K says. But anyway, but that's the truth, and that's the top three, guys. That's the top
No, let's
three.
also talk a bit about Nishikori, Nadal's
Yeah.
quarterfinal opponent.
Oh
Prakash,
Yeah.
yes.
Nishikori is a
Before we,
shadow of his former self. Agree or disagree?
I didn't get you.
He's a shadow of his former self,
Oh
Nishikori.
yeah,
Agree
definitely.
or
There's no
disagree?
doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. And but of course, that's going to be, I think, for Nadal's biggest first test. Although I think actually Paya is not bad. He's he could on his day, right, give a good match in the fourth round. But I think Nishikori is going to be the provided he makes it to the quarterfinals, which again he's got a pretty interesting section with Songa and other. Uh, there is this new Serbian guy. I think Dier. What is his name? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh yes, dear. Okay,
Dier.
yeah.
Yeah, he's already won a title on clay. So then Carino Busta. There's Sousa from Portugal. So and then Benoit Paire is there.
Very well. So these
Paire,
guys can all tire each other out, and
yeah, and Paire also won a title today.
yes, I
So
know. He didn't fail it
yeah,
today.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so he seems to be finding some form. So yeah, I don't know if Nishikori will get there first of all, but if he does, of course
and to
he'll
be
give.
very honest,
Yeah,
and to be very
yeah,
honest, we've spoken about almost everything, and we've spoken about patterns. Let's before we close. There are two things that we must do, and there's one thing that I'd like to hear from the both of you is: are there any surprises that you feel might happen? Any upsets that will happen in this French Open? Probable. What you feel? Before we predict our quarterfinal lineup, which we agreed to on the group,
uh,
as you all know. So, Rajke, let's start with you now, and let's see if you got any surprises coming. You feel might
Okay,
come up.
so I was looking at Thiem's draw as well. His path to the final. Now, of course, we know that it runs through Djokovic and Nadal, and we talked about how difficult that is.
Hmm.
But
right.
looking through the draw, before that, he may have to play Verdasco and Del Potro back to back.
Oh
Okay.
yes.
And here's what I found. He has an identical record against both Verdasco and Del
4-0
Potro. They've played 4 times. And guess how
last
many
two
Thiem has won? 0.
0.
He's 0-4
Yeah.
against Verdasco. He's
Oh
0-4
yeah.
against Del Potro. So I sense an upset there. I think Verdasco or Del Potro are going to fancy the chances against Dominic Thiem here.
Which will help Djokovic.
Which may help
Prakash.
Djokovic.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
but again, unless
But
Verdasco
are
makes
you going to
it,
call it an upset if Del Potro beats Thiem? Maybe not, because people
no,
may say
maybe
that
not.
Del
Yeah,
Potro is a
Verdasco
champion.
definitely.
So.
Verdasco beats, but again, with the head-to-head record, is that an upset?
Yeah, exactly. With the head-to-head, perhaps it's not an upset, but going by the rankings, right? I mean, and this is Thiem,
Right,
supposed to be the prince of clay, the next in line, right? Once Nadal,
right,
if he ever stops winning French Open, which who knows if that's going to happen, then Thiem is the next
right.
in line. So I would still think of it as an upset, But these are two very dangerous matches for Thiem, Verdasco and Del
True,
Potro. So let's see what happens
definitely.
Perfect.
there.
Perfect. So Prakash,
Yeah.
that's from
Yeah.
Rajke. What do you feel, Prakash? What anything that comes to your mind regarding the
Uh,
upset?
I think so. Yeah, basically, the thing is right now. I mean, generally, clay has always been like a surface where it's pretty random, except for the last, and that has changed in the last 15 years, basically, with top guys like Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic always making it to the semifinals. So I think in that sense, I think Nadal and Djokovic, I don't think there'll be any upsets. And the rest, I don't think, we'll be surprised if this is an upset, because like Federer himself is not in, great form. And I mean, he's all right, but I mean, you wouldn't be so shocked if he loses. I mean, not in the
Yeah,
first two
but
rounds, but say
yeah,
if he
correct.
loses in the third round to Gulbis or to Schwartzman, no, we have seen this, like he lost to Millman in US Open. So these
Oh
kind of
yeah.
things up. And Wawrinka, the other guy. So I think what I think the one which Raj K pointed out with TM, that could be the biggest upset if especially Verdasco gets him. Even though it's 4-0, I think this time if they play, I think the TM will get through. But if he goes down a fifth time, that should definitely count as an upset. And I guess so. I'm thinking, for to me at least, the two guys that'll really count as an upset is if Nadal or Djokovic lose in the first week. The rest all, I think, I would say is fairly open, the field.
So
anyone
let's
could beat.
so
Yeah.
so that's from Prakash and guys. As we agreed,
Yeah.
let's go through our potential Roland Garros quarterfinals. What we feel might happen. I'm just going to go with what the official Twitter handle of Roland Garros tweeted, and let's
Right.
see what difference the do our opinions make. Let's see what how different can you think. They say Novak Djokovic versus Zverev, Alexander Zverev,
Yeah. I
Dominic
think they're just
Dom,
going by seedings.
yeah, or
Right.
Dominic
Yeah.
Thiem versus Juan Martin Del Potro,
Del Potro. Yeah.
Tsitsipas versus Federer, and Nishikori versus Nadal. So that's 1 versus 5, 4 versus 8, 6 versus 3, and 7
Right.
versus 2. That's how they have it. What anything that different that you feel might happen? Might happen.
Yeah, so I have a
Uh,
few different, but I'll have Prakash go first. Let's see what he has to say.
yeah. So I think I'm okay with Djokovic. Of course, he'll make it there. Zverev, I'm not so sure. I'm thinking I should go with Fognini there. I
Okay,
think
so
Fognini.
that's the same. So let's go quarterfinal by quarterfinal. I agree with him. I
Right.
think it's going to be Djokovic Fognini. So you heard it from
Yeah.
both of us here. It's going to be Djokovic Fognini. That's what we're
Fognini.
Keep
Right.
your
Yeah.
mark the quarterfinal.
And
Second.
second, I would say I'll go with Thiem, and I think I'm going to pick this guy Jarry to get the quarterfinal to take Del Potro out in the first round.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah,
You heard it, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think I'll go with the upset there. That would be, I guess, the upset, of the week. Not because I think Thiem and Jarry would be my quarterfinalist picks. So
All right.
second
So I
quarterfinal.
think I'm going to stick here with Thiem and Del Potro because I like what I saw of Del Potro in Rome. He was playing
Rome,
very,
yeah.
very well. He was
Very
hitting
good,
that
yeah.
backhand, the best I've seen for the last 10 years. After 2009, I've never seen him hit that backhand so sweetly. So it's going to be Del Potro
True.
for me. And Del
And
Potro
Del
and Thiem.
Potro, I think he made the semi-final that year too, 2009, losing to
Yes,
Federer.
against Federer, the
So,
famous match, right? Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
5-setter. So
Yes.
I
So
think
Del Potro is in good form. So I'm going to stick with him. Del Potro Thiem, yes.
right. That's good. Then next one, like Tsitsipas.
And Federer. Tsitsipas versus Federer.
That I don't know if I should play Tsitsipas or Wawrinka there. And there's Chilich too, who I like. But yeah, I think I'll just stick with the Tsitsipas there. Hopefully, he'll continue his form. And yeah, Federer, yeah, just I'm hoping, I think Federer will deliver and make it to the quarterfinal. Tsitsipas Federer.
Yeah, Prakash and me both are on the same page there. But Rajke, Tsitsipas Federer, do you stick with that or do you have something else in mind? Like Prakash
Unfortunately
said?
not. So I'm going to go with Tsitsipas against Schwartzman because I think Schwartzman's dangerous right now. And
Right.
Federer, I think he's looking at clay as a bonus, and I'm not sure how much realistically he thinks. I think he made a statement a couple of days ago that this time he doesn't feel that it's on his racket. So I'm looking at Federer taking this whole thing as a practice tournament for Wimbledon and the rest of the season than going, with a complete intention of winning it. So I'm going to pick Schwartzman against Federer, or maybe even Gulbis, but let's stick with Schwartzman. So it's going to be Schwartzman Tsitsipas for me.
Okay, Schwartzman Tsitsipas. And the last one, no surprises, Nadal versus Nishikori. Any changes there? Or
yeah, I think I would. I want to pick this guy, the Serbian guy, Gier, but I think I'll go with Benoit Paire. Oh no, actually Medvedev. I'll go with Medvedev.
Oh no, I was hoping that you'd leave Medvedev for my pick, but so then that's
okay, I think
that.
So I'll go with Paire. I'll pick Paire. That's fine.
Okay, good.
I think
You're going to pick
I want to pick him.
Medvedev, Daniel Medvedev. Wonderful player, wonderful Russian player, young next generation player who's coming up. And if you haven't seen him before, guys, this is a good chance to watch Medvedev.
absolutely. What? Okay, so that's pretty much about what we agreed to speak to on episode number 1 of the Tennis Galaxy podcast, and it's been a long podcast, but that's all right because
we didn't run through the semifinals. And we didn't pick the semifinals and finalists.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go to next. So Prakash, we have a lot of time then, and let's go on to Rajke now because Prakash started with the quarterfinals. Rajke, your semi-final picks. what do you feel based on what you chose? Like Djokovic versus what was your pick there in the quarterfinal?
So it was supposed to be. What was the original quarterfinal again? Which we were supposed to change. Djokovic was the Fognini, I think, was my pick.
Yeah, Djokovic versus Fognini. Yeah, and then Thiem versus Del Potro.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Djokovic here against Fognini. Yeah, Djokovic versus, and I think Thiem wins against Del Potro. So perhaps it's a rather timid pick, but Djokovic versus Thiem. Yes.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
And the second one.
Let's go with Prakash's pick for the first, and then see what we have to say.
Yeah, same thing. I think Djokovic and Thiem will be my semi-final. Yeah.
Djokovic versus Thiem is Prakash's semi-final. Both of you go hand in hand here, and then let's turn our attention now to the probable second semi-final that you guys feel. Prakash, let's start with you.
I'm going with the Federer Nadal semi-final.
You said it. Rajke?
I mean, that's the semi-final I would want. But as I said, I don't see Federer reaching there because Schwartzman is problematic. So I'm going to go with Nadal, pretty certain. Now, between Tsitsipas and Schwartzman, for me, it's very difficult to say who's going to make the semi-final. But if I'm pushed into a corner, I'd probably pick Tsitsipas. So it's Nadal Tsitsipas for me.
Who was beaten in Madrid, if I'm not wrong? Tsitsipas beat Nadal.
Tsitsipas beat Nadal at home in Madrid. Which is a fantastic achievement. But again, home country is Spain, but Nadal's home court is Philippe Chatrier. So it's an entirely different situation here for the Greek guy. He's really going to have to play out of his world. But that's our next prediction, right? The final.
Yeah. And the final, that's next. Correct. That's next. So Djokovic Nadal, then if everyone agrees to it.
No, I'm not sure of that actually. So because I think Djokovic is probably the favorite, but not by much. If Thiem is in good form and if he can somehow beat Verdasco and Del Potro, as we were saying, he has bad records against those two, and he's going to be very confident. So I really can't pick Djokovic with a very high degree of confidence against Thiem.
And then Thiem, I hope both Prakash, me, and millions of us watching hope that if Thiem makes it to the final, he doesn't get bageled or doesn't lose in straight set at least.
This is the paradoxical thing. I feel like getting to the final, it's very close between Djokovic and Thiem. But in the final, if one of them makes it, Djokovic has a much better chance against Nadal than Thiem.
Perfect. That's let's make that as the official line. Djokovic has a much better chance because that man can come back from any score line going down. That's what I feel. So
I remember the last 3 times he's Nadal in Grand Slams. He's won all 3 of them.
Absolutely,
and 2018 Wimbledon, 2019 Australian Open, 3 different Grand Slams.
Absolutely,
across the last 4 years. He won all of them, including French Open.
Yeah, and if you look at Australian Open and the way he dominated that final, I mean, none of the Nadal fans expected that, to be very honest, because Djokovic was coming back from an injury, if I'm not wrong. He was last year, but he was there to make a statement, and the way he played that final, the way he dominated it from the first minute, I'd never seen Nadal being dominated in that sense, than that way.
But Prasad, here's the thing: Rod Laver Arena. By the way, I was fortunate enough to actually watch that match live, and this was a fantastic sight. But the Rod Laver Arena is Djokovic's court.
Yeah.
Philippe Chatrier. It's Nadal's court. It's a completely different ball game on the clay on a warm day when Nadal's forehand, that insane bounce that he gets using that wonderful topspin forehand. It's not easy to beat him there.
I don't know. I was saying I was just backing Djokovic's case in terms of the all-round player that he is. But yeah, the surface is obviously going to make a difference, and we all know that it favors Rafael Nadal.
Yes.
So to be very honest, I think unanimously the 3 of us will agree that Nadal is the favorite to win the French Open by the looks of it. I must say, by the looks of it.
Absolutely. If the draw had been a bit different, Thiem on Nadal's side and Djokovic playing, say, Tsitsipas in the quarterfinal, then maybe I would have leaned towards Djokovic. So yes, I have to say that Nadal looks very strong. But as I said before, if the final is Djokovic-Nadal, then things change. Then it's
True.
going to be, I would say, very close. It's not easy to, unequivocally pick Nadal there if it's Nadal Djokovic in the final. But we don't know that final is going to happen. So from today's perspective, yes, Nadal is the favorite going.
Correct. Prakash,
Yes.
Prakash, you agree with that? Your favorite for the French Open?
Yeah. I think it has to be Nadal with the draw the way it is. I think Nadal has to be the favorite, and whoever comes from the other side is going to be like, really fatigued. So they will have to really, I think, punch much above or punch much more than Nadal does.
And before we go, guys, before we go anywhere, I'd like one more question that I'm getting from a few chats that I posted our links in, and they've asked me, they've asked a question: what role will the rain play? I mean, will the rain affect the schedule of the play, as we saw in Rome, how the rain played a major factor? Will the rain be will the rain play a factor here? Be a factor here? Yeah. Will we see 2 games?
That'll definitely change things. If there's, especially right towards the end of the tournament, like for example, it could make a lot of difference to the Federer Nadal match as well if they make the semifinal and it's on a damp, court with overcast conditions. That's the kind of conditions that Federer would prefer. Like he used to do very well against on Hamburg clay, which is pretty much mostly wet and damp conditions.
And the reason for that, Prasad, is this: that particularly for Nadal, one of the biggest assets is his topspin forehand that kicks high into the single-handed backhand. And if it's bad and if it's rainy, the bounce is much less. So it falls very nicely into Federer's hitting zone. So he can handle that backhand much better. So Nadal's biggest weapon is neutralized a little bit by the rain and the damp weather.
Yeah, and the movement also, right? The clay, the sliding and all, it will not be as easy, as on a very hot and or a regular day, because it's going to be wet and you're going to be a little. So the movement, so it will be more like a hard court match actually, if it really, but it's like a very slow hard court. So it's like, again, it will depend on the matchups. For example, I think you say Federer and Wawrinka play. The last time Federer lost to Wawrinka in 2015. That was because of heavy conditions, which you would prefer against players like maybe Djokovic. Maybe Djokovic and Nadal, but not against like Wawrinka, who is a power hitter himself. So.
Or indeed Soderling. Prakash, remember Soderling, 2010?
Yes. Same thing, yeah. That was a loss again on a wet, damp day where you would have rather played, Nadal rather than Soderling that day.
And the logic there is that even though it's slow, Soderling still has a power. Power hitters can still hit through. Whereas, for players who are not that powerful, like even Federer, it becomes tough, right? So it doesn't affect Soderling, but it affects Federer. It doesn't affect Wawrinka, it affects Federer. So that's the logic there. It's fascinating, right? How the weather affects our sport in these wonderful ways, very subtle ways. Right? So,
and it's going to be on a match-to-match basis, depending on the matchups, and definitely, like I think Thiem or Djokovic would prefer it to be wet and damp, rainy day on the final if they play Nadal there. So weather could play, but I haven't looked at the forecast, so I don't know how it is.
Weather could affect the schedule. Say, you have to play a semi-final in 2 days, right? And
again, that's going to be a factor too.
Remember, French Open doesn't have a roof yet. It's the only Grand Slam without a
roof.
So guys, so wonderful time discussing the very first episode of the Tennis Galaxy podcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to us, we've got a very stellar lineup to discuss tennis. And to correct Raj K's duration, he's celebrating his 30th year as a tennis fan. 30th year, if I'm not wrong. 3 decades of tennis, and Prakash is almost there. The next year we get to celebrate his 3 decades. So pretty much a very good start from us, guys. I hope you've enjoyed speaking about. Well, your conversations are now your R&R conversations are going to be heard by people around the world now. And there are people who've asked me to share the links. We'll be posting out soon.
Right.
If there is anything, you can follow Prakash on his Twitter handle Roger Lever. Make sure to keep an eye on that. He posts some really wonderful stats and some patterns that you would love to read. And
Right.
and
And Prasad,
yeah,
on that note, right, let's give a nice trivia piece as we go out. So
absolutely,
if you,
absolutely, yeah. Please,
sure, on the last, we discussed, I think, a couple of days back.
yeah.
So if you look at 50 years back, Lever did his, calendar slam, and he was a first-time French Open winner in the Open era. If you look at it,
Hmm.
in
69,
69,
right? 1969.
yes, yes,
1969, yeah.
yes, in 1979, Borg won for the fourth time. But if you discount that, in 89, Chang wins the first time French Open.
Hmm.
And 99, Agassi wins the first time French Open.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
2009, Federer wins the first time French Open, right?
Wow, wow, okay.
So,
Oh,
you
so
see,
who's
it's
the
like
first? Dominic Thiem, do you think?
that would be crazy. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if Thiem is in the final league, that's something you might
Well,
want
that's
to
one
look
thing, but
into.
there's also another thing, right? That these were all sort
Right,
of career slams. Like,
right. So, the last two ones, the 99 and 2009, and of course, um, 99 and 2009 were the career slams, for
by
Agassi
which we
and
mean that he had won Wimbledon, US Open, and Australian Open, Agassi in 99, and he had to
yeah,
win the French Open to complete the set of four. He
complete
did that
that.
in 99. And of course, Federer famously did that in 2009.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember the 2009 final, and I
Right.
remember celebrating the Soderling Nadal game as well, the match.
But Prakash, if
Uh,
that is the pattern, we have to look for somebody who holds Wimbledon, US Open, and Australian without the French Open, and there is no such
Right.
player. Right?
and
No,
there's
no,
only
but
yeah, but
Djokovic or Federer could do it a second time. So
Oh, so you mean a second
career
career slam,
slam.
two of each?
So
yeah.
in a way, yeah. But
So I
yeah,
mean, if we had to read the omens, then who knows, right? I mean, these omens would support
yeah,
Federer or
these are
Djokovic.
interesting. True. I mean, it's the kind of things people will want to look into. Once they are in that position. Like say if Djokovic is in the final or like Federer is in the final, and
Yeah.
even more rare, but even more kind of less probable. But if both of them in the final, one of them is definitely doing it for sure.
Oh,
So,
yes. And then let me tell you another stat for Djokovic, another pattern
yeah,
which seems to suggest that Djokovic may win.
right,
Okay. So
right,
here it is. Djokovic in 2016 needed Roland Garros to hold all four slams at the same time. Same story now.
right,
He needs
right,
French Open to hold all four slams at the same time. What did he
right,
do in Monte Carlo there? He lost in the second round in 2016. This year he
right,
lost in the third round. Then he won
uh-huh,
Madrid. This year he won Madrid again. In
right,
2016 he loses in the Rome final. This year he
right.
loses in the Rome final again. See,
So-
everything is the same. And what happened in 2016? He lost to Murray in Rome final, and he beat Murray to win French Open. So if you had to follow that pattern, he lost to
Yeah.
Nadal in Rome final, and so is he going to beat Nadal to win French Open?
Question mark. So so
This is a very intriguing French
stellar,
Open, right?
stellar. Yeah,
So
and
many
beautiful. I have goosebumps listening to the trivia, the 1969, 79, 89 thing, the decade thing that Prakash said. And Rajke, that's a very good pattern that you've given the viewers. So now all have our eyes on the tournament, which is starting today, IST. It's 1:50 a.m. here in India, and we are recording this podcast. But guys, wonderful start to this.
Right. Thank you, Prasad.
A pretty long one, but hey, anyway, conversations go up for hours
Right.
and hours. I mean, you guys had more longer conversations than these, so it's been a pleasure having you. And we'll be putting out our first episode very soon. Keep your eyes on that, and make sure to follow Prakash on his Twitter handle Roger Lever. Rajke, do you have anything that you would like to share or tell our listeners to follow you somewhere on Twitter?
No, I mean, I don't have Twitter presence yet, but I just like to thank you for the opportunity for the podcast. It just felt like a conversation between three tennis enthusiasts. And I just hope that we've given people, first-time watchers, perhaps some pointers as to what to look out for. It's going to be a wonderful Grand Slam.
Oh, absolutely. And when I first spoke to Prakash, I was like, okay, we are starting a podcast. Federer is almost nearing his retirement, is what we felt.
Don't be
And
too sure, by the way. Federer
yeah,
could play on for a few
yeah,
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. If that happens,
I hope so
Hmm.
too. I mean, if you like tennis, you want Federer to play. It doesn't matter whether he's your favorite player or not. Such a
absolutely.
wonderful player, Federer.
Absolutely. And guys, let's sign out then.
Sure.
To so Guys, if you love the podcast, make sure to subscribe to us everywhere. We'll be out soon on Google and Apple Podcast. Give Prakash a follow once again, and we'll be putting out podcast probably once a week, as
Yes.
per the results and as per if it requires us to put out an episode. But make sure to tune into the podcast because you've got two very, very die-hard tennis fans sharing their views and sharing their trivia, sharing their analysis. And as you could hear, I was just a mere spectator listening to all this, and I have goosebumps right now. So I hope you do, and keep following us. Here's your host Prasad signing out with Prakash and Raj Kamal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.